ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जायमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 3, Chapter 15, Description of the Kingdom of God. We are at text 46. So text 46 to 50, these 5 shlokas, these are the final section of this chapter. Prayers of Chatushkumar. Now they are going to offer prayers that we will be coming here. Text 46. Kumara Urjuhu योऽन्तर्हितो हृदिगतोऽपि दुरात्मनत्वाम् सोऽद्यैव नो नयनमूलमनन्तराद्धः यर्हेव कर्णविवरेण गुहां गतो नः पित्रानुवर्णितरः भवदुद्भवेन. Translation.
Kumara said, "Our dear Lord, you are not manifested to rascals, even though you are seated within the heart of everyone. But as far as we are concerned, we see you face to face, although you are unlimited. The statements we have heard about you from our father Brahma through the years have now been actually realized by your kind appearance." Purport: the so-called yogis who concentrate their mind or meditate upon the impersonal or void are described here. This verse of Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam describes persons who are expected to be very expert yogis engaged in meditation, but who do not find the Supreme Personality of Godhead seated within the heart. These persons are described here as Duratma, which means a person who has very crooked heart, or a less intelligent person, just opposite to Mahatma, which means one who has a broad heart. Those so-called yogis who, although engaged in meditation, are not broad-hearted, cannot find the four-handed Narayana form, even though he is seated within their heart. Although the first realization of the supreme absolute truth is impersonal Brahman, one should not remain satisfied with experiencing the impersonal effulgence of the Supreme Lord. In the Ishopanishad also, the devotee prays that the glaring effulgence of Brahman may be removed from his eyes so that he can see the real personal feature of the Lord and thus satisfy himself fully. Similarly, although the Lord is not visible in the beginning because of his glaring bodily effulgence, if a devotee sincerely wants to see him, the Lord is revealed to him. It is said in Bhagavad Gita that the Lord cannot be seen by our imperfect eyes. He cannot be heard by our imperfect ears, and he cannot be experienced by our imperfect senses. But if one engages in devotional service with faith and devotion, then God reveals himself. Here, the four sages Sanat-kumāra, Sanātana, Sanandana, and Sanaka are described as actually sincere devotees. Although they had heard from their father Brahma about the personal feature of the Lord, only the impersonal feature, Brahman, was revealed to them. But because they were sincerely searching for the Lord, they finally saw his personal feature directly, which corresponded with the description given by their father. They thus became fully satisfied. Here, they express their gratitude because although they were foolish impersonalists in the beginning, by the grace of the Lord, they could now have the good fortune to see his personal feature. Another significant aspect of this verse is that the sages describe their experience of hearing from their father Brahma, who was born of the Lord directly. In other words, the disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahma, and from Brahma to Narada, and from Narada to Vyasa, and so on, is accepted here. Because the Kumaras were sons of Brahma, they had the opportunity to learn Vedic knowledge from the disciplic succession of Brahma. And therefore, in spite of their impersonalist beginnings, they became in the end direct seers of the personal feature of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
Sages said, Chatushkumaras there began to say, "O dear Lord, you are not manifested to the Duratmas." Prabhupada translate the word Duratma as rascals. Okay. Now this word rascal, if you see the dictionary meaning of the word rascal means people who are thoroughly dishonest. Now Srila Prabhupada is using this word in 1960s, and at that time it was a very common word. And the words that we have seen that, at times they take a different connotations and different meanings through the progression of decades, right? So, of course, rascal is still not such a bad word, but the point is, the dictionary meaning of the word rascal is the person who are thoroughly dishonest. Okay. So you will find this word many times, or at sometimes in the purport or in Prabhupada conversation, fools and rascals. So fools means mudha, and rascal means vimudha. Okay, so Prabhupada's translation. Duratma is here translated as rascal. So those people, you are not manifested to the rascals, even though you are seated in the heart. So this is the first realization. Chatush Kumaras, they are conveying to the Supreme Lord. Second, they say, now we see you face to face, although you are unlimited. So although you are unlimited, unlimited doesn't mean you are formless, because this is our material concoction. That form leads to limitation. We have seen all the material forms which lead to limitations, and therefore we think unlimited has to be formless. No, unlimited also has a form. Ishvara Parama Krishna Satchidananda Vigraha. Vigraha means form. Okay, so although he's Parama Ishvara, his form is Satchidananda Vigraha. And then the third thing they say, now we realize the statement of our father, they are small children. Okay, so one angle of seeing their prayers is also from that perspective. Now we realize our father, Brahma, what he was telling to us, that now we exactly see you as you are, face to face, although Duratmas cannot find you, although you are situated in everybody's heart. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada describes that there are two types of people, Mahatma and Duratma. Mahatma are the broad-minded personality, the Mahatmanastu Mam Partha, Devim Prakriti Mashrita, Bhajanti Ananya Manaso, Jnatva Bhutadim Abhyam. These are the Mahatmas. So Mahatma is not simply some political rubber stamping. Okay, you call some person as Mahatma, although he must have done some of the greatest disservice to India. No, Mahatma comes is a spiritual word which is given to the great devotees of the Lord. Mahatmanastu Mam Partha, Devim Prakriti Mashrita. And then there are Duratma, who are very crooked people. Duratmas also, they are also described in Bhagavad Gita in different ways. So the Lord is situated in everybody's heart, but if the person is a Duratma, dishonest person, then the Lord will not reveal to him. Here the honesty is to the final message of the Supreme Lord. Why? Because the Lord is covered over by the Brahman effulgence, and it is very difficult to see the personality of Godhead. And therefore in the Ishopanishad there is a description, Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasyapi Hitam Mukham, that Hiranmayena Patrena, you are having the glaring golden effulgence of Brahma Jyoti. And here this is the Upanishad's prayer. Why Upanishad? Because at times people consider Shruti Shastra to be greater than Smriti, and Upanishads are the part of the Shruti Shastra. But there is a description that, oh my Lord, please remove the glaring effulgence from your face so that we can take darshan of your face. And therefore, Prabhupada says, the Lord is not visible in the beginning, but slowly, by the practice of devotional service, one can see the Supreme Lord face to face. Tvesham tvantagatam papam jananam punyakarmanam te dvandva moha nirmukta. Then such a personality, they can have darshan of the Lord. Here the four sages, they were very, very sincere devotees. They followed the message of their father, and by following the message of the father, they were practicing. But till then, till the personal appearance of the Lord, all they had understanding of the Brahman realization. Right. But now they are extremely satisfied because what they had heard has literally come true. What they were meditated on, that has literally come true. And therefore, they are very happily remembering their own father, that, yes, our father described about you like this. And Srila Prabhupada says, Kumaras were fortunate to have father like Lord Brahma. But the devotees in the disciplic succession are equally fortunate, because the same message, what Lord Brahma gave to Narada, Narada gave to Vyasa Muni, and Vyasa Muni, forwarding that same message in the disciplic succession, one can similarly realize the Lord and similarly see the Supreme Personality of Godhead face to face by the mercy of disciplic succession. Text 47. Tam tvam vidam bhagavan paramatma-tattvam satvena sampratiratim charayantamesham yattenu-tapa-viditair dridha-bhakti-yogair udgrantayat ridhi-vidu munayah viraga. Translation.
Translation: we know that you are the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead who manifests his transcendental form in the uncontaminated mode of pure goodness. This transcendental eternal form of your personality can be understood only by your mercy through unflinching devotional service by great sages whose hearts have been purified in the devotional way. Purport: the absolute truth can be understood in three features: impersonal Brahman, localized Paramatma, and Bhagwan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here it is admitted that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the last word in understanding the absolute truth. Even though the four Kumaras were instructed by their great learned father, Brahma, they could not actually understand the absolute truth. They could only understand the supreme absolute truth when they personally saw the personality of Godhead with their own eyes. In other words, if one sees or understands the supreme personality of Godhead, the other two features of the absolute truth, namely impersonal Brahman and localized Paramatma, are also automatically understood. Therefore, the Kumaras confirm you are the ultimate absolute truth. The impersonalists may argue that since the Supreme Personality of Godhead was so nicely decorated, he was therefore not the absolute truth. But here it is confirmed that all the variegatedness of the absolute platform is constituted of Shuddha Sattva, pure goodness. In the material world, any quality, goodness, passion, or ignorance is contaminated. Even the quality of goodness here in the material world is not free from tinges of passion and ignorance. But in the transcendental world, only pure goodness without any tinge of passion or ignorance exists. Therefore, the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead and his variegatedness, pastimes, and paraphernalia are all pure Sattva Guna. Such variegatedness in pure goodness is exhibited eternally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotee. The devotee does not want to see the Supreme Personality of Absolute Truth in voidness or impersonalism. In one sense, absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees, not for others, because this distinct feature of transcendental variegatedness can be understood only by the mercy of the Supreme Lord and not by mental speculation or the ascending process. It is said that one can understand the Supreme Personality of Godhead when one is even slightly favored by him. Otherwise, without his mercy, a man may speculate for thousands of years and not understand what is actually the absolute truth. This mercy can be perceived by the devotee when he is completely freed from contamination. It is stated, therefore, that only when all contamination is rooted out and the devotee is completely detached from material attractions can he receive this mercy of the Lord. Hare Krishna.
The sages further said four things in the this particular prayer. You are the Supreme Lord who manifests his transcendental form in an uncontaminated mode of goodness. So first thing they realized that you are the Supreme Personality of Godhead. We were till now heard about you. We were meditating upon you. We heard exactly similar form and you are here. You are the Supreme. Second, they said, you have a form and this form is in the Shuddha Sattva. Third thing they said, and this form can be understood only by your mercy through unflinching devotional service. Right? All these statements are, see how beautifully Bhagavad Gita and Bhagavatam is connected. Only by devotional service. 11.55 Bhagavad Gita. What's that shloka? And fourth, they said, the great sages who Bhaktya mam abhijanati yavan yaschasmi tatvatah bhaktya mam abhijanati. Right. And fourth thing they said, and it can be understood by the great sages whose hearts are purified by the devotional service. That the verse we just saw. Tesham tvantagatam papam. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the Lord can be realized in three ways: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Vadanti tat tattvavidas tattvam yajnanam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti bhagavaniti shabdati. And this is the realization one after another. And we have seen those four examples of Prabhupada. What are the four examples? We have not revised for a long time. Yeah, quickly.
Rain.
Yeah, train, very good.
Sun.
Mountain.
Sun cannot be
very good.
covered.
Yeah, sun is third. Train is one, mountain is another, sun is third, and then king, right? Prabhupada used to say
Yes.
there is a kingdom, and there is a kingdom, there is a palace, and there is a personality of the king. Okay, there is a sunlight, there is a sun planet, and there is sun god. There is a very hazy picture of the train, which is one can see only the light. Then one can see the light and the engine, and the light engine and the bogie. And the mountain from a distance, everything appears very hazy. If you go close, one can see the mountain. When one goes very close, one can see the mountain, the trees, the birds, and all the variegatedness there. Okay. So these four examples, very important. Prabhupada explains there. Further, Prabhupada says, in other words, what this means is, when they realize the personality of Godhead, automatically other two features are naturally realized. Right? And that's true with the personality of Godhead, and that's true with the process to obtain the personality of Godhead. And therefore, bhakti automatically includes jnana and vairagya. Right? This is the process of bhakti yoga. Just like when the Supreme Lord is realized as Bhagavan, that Bhagavan realization will naturally include the realization of Brahman and Paramatma. Similarly, when one performs bhakti, bhakti will automatically include the principles of jnana and vairagya. Further, Srila Prabhupada says the form of the Lord is Shuddha Sattva. It is pure goodness. In the material world, the Shuddha Sattva is not seen because everything in the material world is contaminated by either Rajoguna or Tamoguna. So the Lord is pure goodness. Sometimes people say, especially Voidists, they will say, oh, here the Lord is decorated. Prabhupada said that decoration is also Shuddha Sattva. Right? It is not that the decoration, the Lord's decoration is material and the Lord is spiritual. No. The Lord and the decoration, Tadiya, the Supreme Lord and Tadiya, everything is Shuddha Sattva. And these people do not understand. In the spiritual world, everything is spiritual. Previous purport Prabhupada writes about this. The land there is spiritual. Chintamani Prakara. The trees are spiritual. The water is spiritual. The birds are spiritual. And there is no difference in a sense between a bird and the human being in the spiritual world, because everything is conscious. Everything is very spiritual. Such variegatedness of goodness is exhibited eternally by the Lord for the satisfaction of the devotees. And Prabhupada says, in another sense, what it means is the absolute transcendental variegatedness is meant only for the devotees. Otherwise, the impersonalist or the non-devotees, they are simply the fault finder trying to find some fault in the personality of Godhead. They will say, oh, the form is very beautiful, but the decorations are material. Param bhava majananto. They do not understand the higher, superior nature, that even the tadiya in the spiritual world is spiritual in nature. And that's why we see when Krishna playing the flute, all the trees are dancing, all the birds are dancing, the grass is dancing. Why? Because everything is spiritual in the spiritual world. This has to be understood in disciplic succession. Otherwise, Prabhupada says, one can go on speculating for many thousands of years and hardly he will reach to any conclusion. Panthastu koti shata vatsara sampragamyo vayo rathapi munasa muni pungavana. They will hardly reach any conclusion after thousands of years of the mental speculation. And therefore, one has to take shelter of the devotee of the Lord in disciplic succession, just like we are taking shelter of Srila Prabhupada's purports here. And then one can have the complete understanding of the personality of Godhead. Text 48. Natyamtikam viganayantyapite prasadam किम अन्यतर्पित भयं ब्रुव उन्यतैस्ते येङ्गत्वदङ्घ्रिशरणा भवतः कथायां कीर्तन्यतीर्थयशसा कुशलस्रसज्ञा. Translation.
Persons who are expert and most intelligent in understanding things as they are engage in hearing narrations of the auspicious activities and pastimes of the Lord, which are worth chanting and worth hearing. Such persons do not care even for the highest material benediction, namely liberation, say nothing of other less important benedictions, like the material happiness of the heavenly kingdom. Purport. The transcendental bliss enjoyed by the devotee of the Lord is completely different from the material happiness enjoyed by less intelligent persons. The less intelligent persons in the material world are engaged by the four principles of benediction called dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Generally, they prefer to take to religious life to achieve some material benediction, the purpose of which is to satisfy the senses. When by that process they become confused or frustrated in fulfilling the maximum amount of sense enjoyment, they try to become one with the Supreme, which is, according to their conception, mukti or liberation. There are five kinds of liberation, the least important of which is called sayuja, to become one with the Supreme. Devotees don't care for such liberation because they are actually intelligent, nor are they inclined to accept any of the other four kinds of liberation, namely to live on the same planet as that the Lord, to live with Him side by side as an associate, to have the same opulence, or to attain the same bodily features. They are concerned only with glorifying the Supreme Lord and His auspicious activities. Pure devotional service is Shravanam Kirtanam. Pure devotee who take transcendental pleasure in hearing and chanting the glories of the Lord do not care for any kind of liberation. Even if they are offered the five liberations, they refuse to accept them as stated in the Bhagavatam in the third canto. Materialistic persons aspire for the sense enjoyment of heavenly pleasure in the heavenly kingdom, but devotees reject such material pleasure at once. The devotee does not even care for the post of Indra. A devotee knows that any pleasurable material position is subject to be annihilated at a certain point. Even if one reaches the post of Indra, Chandra, or any other demigod, he must be dissolved at certain stages. A devotee is never interested in such temporary pleasure. For Vedic scriptures, it is understood that sometimes even Brahma and Indra fall down, but a devotee in the transcendental abode of the Lord never falls. This transcendental stage of life, in which one feels transcendental pleasure in hearing the Lord's pastimes, is also recommended by Lord Chaitanya. When Lord Chaitanya was talking with Ramananda Raya, there were varieties of suggestions offered by Ramananda regarding spiritual realization. But Lord Chaitanya rejected all but one, that one should hear the glories of the Lord in association with pure devotees. That is acceptable for everyone, especially in this age. One should engage himself in hearing from pure devotees about the activities of the Lord. That is considered the supreme benediction for mankind.
The sages further began to pray. Very beautiful prayers. Tirtanya tirtha yashasa kushalak rasatnya. Persons who are very expert, most intelligent in understanding the things. Now, these are the two people. They are very expert and they really know the value, understand what the things are, what they do. So, first, the persons, who are these and what they do? They engage in hearing the narrations of the auspicious activities of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And how these activities are? They are only activities worth hearing and chanting. Such people, they do not care for any material benedictions. And there is a list of benedictions like liberation, and nothing to think of the material posts like Indra Padavi. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that the transcendental bliss enjoyed by the devotees cannot be compared to any material happiness. Right. Of course, we may not have such a great transcendental bliss, but the very fact that we are coming together, reading Bhagavatam every day without any as such a tangible immediate some material goal, this shows that the continuity means the commitment, and commitment means that yes, somehow some bliss is there in Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam, and this is what we aspire for, increasing our spiritual taste more and more. Generally, the material happiness is on the realm of dharma, artha, kama, moksha. People want to enjoy dharma. The people want to perform dharma so that they will obtain some artha. And nowadays, dharma and artha is not related at all. People want artha so that they can do a lot of kama, sense gratification. And the sense gratification becomes so thoroughly confusing and frustrating later that people want to just dissolve their identity and want to take moksha. Right. So this is the sequence. Dharma leads to artha. Nowadays, even dharma and artha has nothing to do with each other, and therefore people have stopped performing dharma. People are directly working for artha. Artha is required for kama, and kama in the end is very frustrating and confusing, and therefore people go for moksha. And there are 5 types of liberation. The materialist, which are aware of the moksha, that is the least type of the moksha, which is called as srastri. That is becoming one with the Supreme, negating one's existence and saying, Aham Brahmasmi, I am nothing, or I am everything, something like that. And devotees, they hardly bother about this type of moksha. In fact, there are verses which describe Kaivalyam Narakayate, Tridishapur Akasha Pushpayate. And here, what to speak of that moksha merging with the Supreme? Even other moksha devotee is not very interested. Devotee is not even interested to become a Vishnu Duta on the planet of, some Vaikuṇṭha planet. What the devotee is interested in? Devotee is interested in performing unconditional, unmotivated devotional service. Where am I, my dear Lord? I just want to perform your devotional service. And that's why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu praised this. Na dhanam, na janam, na sundarim, kavitam va jagadisha kamaye, mama janmani janmanishware. So Prabhupada writes there, when Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, mama janmani janmanishware, the Lord is rejecting even liberation there. That one is hard. Whatever is your plan for me, my dear Lord, I am simply your puppet. Make me dance as you want to make me dance. And this is how Prabhupada says, the devotees are only concerned with glorifying the Supreme Lord and the auspicious activities. And even when they are offered with liberation, they are hardly bothered about this. Wherever they are. Sampade vipade jivane marane. Bhagavatam, there is a beautiful shloka of that, either one may be in the material world or in the spiritual world, one is always concerned about engaging in devotional service. So devotees, Prabhupada writes here, they are not interested in the material acquisition like Indra Padavi or Chandra Padavi or even Brahma Padavi. Prabhupada says all these demigods may at times fall away, but a devotee of the Lord is very steadily situated, and this is what is aspired by a devotee. And Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, in his conversations with Ramananda Rai, there is a conversation that what a devotee aspires for. And devotee aspires for eternal engagement in Kirtanya Tirtha Yashasa Kushala Rasajna. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you,
Thank you,
Prabhuji.
everyone.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.